appreciate she spelling me out while we lost Dana. So thank you, Autumn.
I
Thank
see
you,
her
Autumn.
there.
Mhm.
Thank you for being here. Okay, so now is 5:01. I'm gonna call this meeting to order. And the first item of business is public comments. Do we have any public comments?
We do not have any public comment today.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Moving on
Um,
to, yes.
Chair, could you please excuse Councilmember Kochmar?
Oh, yes. Due to family reason, council, actually committee members, Coach Ma is not going to be here. And because of that, Council President Honda will be filling in as a voting member of this committee for the record.
Thank you.
And that
Thank you.
make a quorum. So thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. So moving on to committee business. The first one is approval of summary minutes, July 28, 2020.
I move to adopt the minutes of July 28th, 2020.
I second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The matter passed 2-0. Moving on to item B, surplus of public works and parks vehicles. That would be EJ Wash.
Good evening, Chair Tran, Council President Honda, and council members. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this matches what is in the council packet, or the meeting packet. But for the sake of conversation, I thought it might be a little easier just to put it on a slide. That way everybody can see it. And typically if we were in City Hall, we would just do this verbally, but considering everyone's remote, I figure this might be a little bit easier. But Chair Tran, if you would like me to take this down, I'm happy to. So what we are here tonight to request permission to do is to surplus alternate vehicles. So this is the same thing we've done for the last couple of years, where the vehicles on the left-hand side of that heavy line in the middle of the screen are the ones that were approved within the 2020 budget to be surplused. So that starting at the top, 82441, 82451, 82551, and 82541. So 2 Ford trucks, 150 and 250, as well as 2 Dodge trucks. So these are all trucks that the city bought new in 2009 and 2011, respectively. And, they've fulfilled their life cycle costs. They've been thoroughly used. They have mileage on them. And, as part of the budget process 2 years ago, were approved for replacements using collected replacement reserves. What we are requesting permission to do tonight is to, in lieu of surplusing them, actually surplus vehicles that are in worst condition. So back in 2004 to 2008, my predecessor's predecessor came to council on multiple occasions and requested permission to keep a vehicle after we had surplused a vehicle, gotten a new one, and then requested permission to keep the old one. And that was a way that the fleet was, in 2004 to 2008, expanded. However, reserves were not collected on those vehicles that were intended to be surplused at that time. So the vehicles on the right-hand side of your screen, the 1997 Chevy Extended Cab 4x4, the 2004 Ford F-250, the 1998 Ford Ranger, and the 1996 Ford Ranger, are all still in use today. These are vehicles that should have been surplused in 2006, 2008 timeframe, were not. They were kept by the city. So what we are requesting permission from the council to do tonight, which under the purchasing manual, it does require council action, is to surplus the 4 vehicles on the right and maintain the 4 vehicles on the left. What I will say is this does not increase the size of the fleet, so we are not asking to add 4 additional vehicles. We will, effectively the 4 vehicles on the left are the 4 vehicles that as of right now will go away. So we're asking to trade which vehicles go away. We are not asking to expand them. And similar to the request that Kerry made in 2004 to 2008, we are not asking to collect additional reserves. So when these vehicles are no longer functional, they will be surplused, or in all honesty, most likely we will probably be doing the same thing that I'm here before you tonight. We will take old vehicles and replace old vehicles with them. That's kind of the condition we're in. Like I said, all 4 of those vehicles on the right are used on a daily basis by, 2 of them are for parks, 2 of them are for public works. So we, and all 8 of these vehicles are in not new condition. The 4 on the right are in very poor condition. So this is the same thing like I said, we've asked the last 2 years, we've done the same program. In lieu of coming to council and asking for funding to buy 4 new trucks to replace them with. So that's where we stand. I am happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, EJ. Council President Honda, do you have any questions?
I do, thank you. So if we surplus the 4 older vehicles, do we have enough vehicles for staff to use?
So as of right now, the council action that was previously taken is to surplus the 4 vehicles that are on the left, the 2010
Right.
and the 3 2012s. So as of the end of the year, I need to have them not be owned by the city right now. So in total, we are short on vehicles. We have been short on vehicles for a number of years. But we are not before you tonight asking to expand the fleet. We are asking for a 1-to-1 replacement. The 4 vehicles on the right, I mean, we're at the point it's not worth putting money into trying to repair these vehicles. They're so old. So it's time for them to go.
So what will you do? You'll put them out for sale to somebody, or you'll take them out to have them crushed and recycled?
So we use the state. We use the Department of Enterprise Services. So they will come pick them up, and they will be part of the state's surplus equipment auction. And then the state gives us the proceeds that they sell minus the state collects 3% of the sale price. And
How much do you expect?
Realistically, for the trucks we got last year that we surplus trucks of the same age, we saw between, I think the high was $2,500 and the low was $800. So all things considered, I would expect these to go for about the same amount.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. Council members, do you have any questions? I'll take that as a no. If there's no further questions.
Chair?
Yes,
Chair,
Ade?
yeah, EJ, so you're saying that the vehicles to the right, the proposed vehicle surplus was replaced few years ago with, say, for example, vehicle number 81170 was
Yes.
replaced with 82442. And for this budget year, 82442 will be replaced with 82441. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Okay, so I guess what is the essence of proposed vehicle surplus, vehicle replaced, and vehicle budgeted vehicle? I guess what is the relationship between the 3 columns?
Sure. So 82441, which is this 2000, using the top line as example, is the 2010 F-150 4x4.
Okay.
That vehicle was included in the 2020 budget for replacement. That vehicle has been replaced at this point with vehicle 82442. That's the new vehicle that is in use. We still, as a city, own 82441. So as part of the 2020 budget, 82441 was approved to be surplused once we fitted out 82442. So we have done that. We have fitted out 82442. So what we are asking permission to do tonight is, in lieu of surplusing 82441, we're asking to surplus 81170 instead, keep 82441, and in this case, this vehicle will be transferred to the Parks Department to replace 82441 will be transferred to the Parks Department to replace a 1997 Chevy truck.
So when 81170 was replaced, it was not surplus.
Correct. In 2000, this one was in 2006. Yes, that is correct. So 81171 is frankly also at the end of its life. But 81170 is still in use on a daily basis by the Parks Department from 2006 when it was supposed to be surplused. But at that point, Parks Department came to council and requested permission to keep this vehicle, which council granted. So now we are saying we're not looking to expand the fleet. What we're asking to do is transfer 82441 and surplus 81170 instead. So the total number of vehicles remains static.
Okay. So we've kept 81170 for about 23 years and 82321 for about 16 years. Okay.
Correct. Correct.
I have another question, if possible.
Go ahead, Council President.
Thank you. EJ, do we have other vehicles in this condition that we were going to surplus years ago and didn't?
Yes. About 2/3 of the Parks Department fleet meets this.
Oh,
So
okay.
these 4 vehicles are the worst, which is why we are, basically they have the highest maintenance cost to the city, which is why we have selected these 4 because we only replaced 4 trucks in 2020. So we are getting rid of the 4 highest cost trucks I should rephrase that. Tonight I'm asking permission to get rid of the 4 highest cost trucks to the city and keep 4 lower cost 2010 and 2012 trucks instead is what I'm before you tonight for.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, EJ, I think it makes sense to surplus the older vehicle. Take 81170 for example. This is 1997 truck, and then keep the 82441 is newer, 3 years newer. So it makes sense to get rid of the older ones.
Agreed.
All right.
Right. Do you want a
okay.
motion?
Yes, please.
I move to forward option 1 to the September 1st, 2020 consent agenda for approval.
I second that. Is there any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The matter passed 2-0. We are moving on to item C, purchase of tow behind truck loader leaf vacuum. That will be Desiree Winkler.
Good evening, committee chair, council president, members of the council. I also am going to share my screen here. All right, and then I do this. All right, you can all see that?
Yes.
Okay, so this is probably the only picture you need of the whole thing. This is what we're looking at buying. Not the truck, the thing behind it, but notice the big pile of leaves and notice the worker vacuuming them up. This is what we're looking at. And then what you don't see over the top actually is the chute that shoots said leaves into the back of the truck. So a whole lot easier than picking them up by hand and putting them into trash cans and trying to handle them that way. So policy question before you tonight is, should city council authorize staff to purchase a tow behind truck loader / leaf vacuum in the amount of $13,179.19? So in 2018, as you know, Public Works started performing right-of-way landscape maintenance in-house. And as we've gone along, we're trying to determine how best to do the job and to do it efficiently. And one of those proposals that staff have come up with is using one of these tow behind truck loaders. There is sufficient existing budget. So I want to clarify, we're not asking for additional money. There is existing budget within our current budget. I have to come before council in order to get authorized to purchase this piece of equipment because it is over $5,000. And then added benefit is that apparently Parks Department has leaves too, and so they can also utilize it. And again, this is actually close up of what it looks like. And again, the financial impact, the cost of $13,179.19. There is existing funds in the Public Works Streets operation budget. And we are purchasing this through state contract. So the options considered are to authorize staff to purchase a tow-behind truck loader leaf vacuum in the amount of $13,179.19. And option 2, do not authorize purchase and provide direction to staff. The mayor is recommending option 1 to purchase the tow-behind truck loader leaf vacuum. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your presentation. Council President Honda, do you have any questions?
I do. Thank you for being here tonight. So if the Parks Department is going to use it, do they also share in the purchase price with any funding, or just Public Works?
No, at Public Works, we have funds to purchase it, and both of us are funded through general fund money anyways. Okay. So no, we're not asking them to share. We share in their equipment as well. I mean, we utilize, for example, their chippers all the time. So it all works out in the end.
What is the lifespan of this piece of equipment?
That I don't know. Probably depends on how much we use it. But in accordance with all the other pieces of equipment, apparently 23 years. No,
that sounds good. Okay.
I don't know that answer, but I can get back to you on that one, Council President.
Well, I was just wondering. It seems like makes sense if you've been doing this by hand. This would decrease the amount of time it takes to do the job. So. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right, Councilmember Baruso.
Oh, thank you, Chair Tran. Thank you, Desiree. I just have a quick question. So this particular model here, why this one? Are there other manufacturers? Or
they did look at they did their research and looked at them, and mainly they were all comparable. This one, because it's on the state contract, makes it a lot simpler to go ahead and purchase. But there was no great cost difference. In fact, we get cost savings going through the state contract, but there's no quality difference.
Okay, I kind of thought that, but I wanted to ask. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Is there any other council members want to say anything? Okay, I don't see any hands. Desiree, if you remember, I mean, from the very get-go, I am in favor of using automation or machine and technology to help staff, be more efficient and make their life easier. So this is one of the things that I think I'm totally agree with. So I don't have any problem with this.
Thank you.
All right.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
I move to forward option 1 to the September 1st, 2020 consent agenda for approval.
And I second that. Is there any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The matter passed 2-0. Thank you. And now we are moving on to item D, amendment number 1 to goods and services agreement for abatement of unfit premises. That will be presented by Brian Davis.
Thank you, Chair Tran and members of the committee. So from time to time, our Code Enforcement Division deals with properties in which there is no response after complaints are received. And when we get to that point, we often have to perform the abatement of the nuisance, or in this case, the property was just overrun with junk and debris and was causing a lot of frustration to the neighbors. And there was no response from the tenants, the owners, all of our avenues for contacting people that we normally contact to clean it up. So when that happens, we hire this out. We have professionals that we retain to do this work for us. This particular case, the original contract was just under their estimate, and our contract was just under 20,000, which is our spending limit without having to go to council. After the cleanup took place, the squatters in the house left the premises, and on their way out, they took basically everything inside the house and threw it outside. And so there was some additional cleanup that was unforeseen by both the city and the contractor in their original bid. And so we didn't want to leave that for the neighbors to enjoy as well. So we want it cleaned up. And because it's over 20,000, we need to come to the council for approval. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Brian. Council President, you have any questions?
No, I don't. I'm just glad that the property was taken care of and the neighbors are living in a better neighborhood. Thank you for doing that.
Great. Thank you.
I
Brian,
do have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Lydia.
After you.
No, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So my question was, usually you would go back if they sell the property, then that's how we recoup, correct?
I'm sorry, could you say that one more time, please?
If the property sells, then we can recoup the cost that's been incurred by the city?
That's correct. If it sells, or if there is delinquent taxes, then because we have, we'll have paid this, we'll put a lien on the property. And so when the taxes are due, then we will have, depending on how many liens are on the property, we're either first in line or second in line, depending on how it works. But we do have means to recoup this cleanup cost.
Thank you.
That was the same question that I'm gonna ask. So thank you, Lydia. Is there anyone want to ask any questions? I don't see any hands here. So, all right, I am ready for a motion.
I move to forward the proposed amendment to the September 1st, 2020 consent agenda for approval.
And I will second that. Any other discussion, questions?
If I could, Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank Ade and his staff for getting this on the agenda. It came at the last minute, and we didn't want to leave it for another month before it went to the committee. So I just want to say thanks to his staff for getting this on the agenda so quickly.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that teamwork. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Matter passed 2-0. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
We are moving on to item E, vouchers, July 2020. Ade.
Yes, I think I got a couple of emails that we responded to, and if there's any other question, I'll be glad to answer them.
Yeah, I read all of your responses to Council President questions, so I don't have any other questions. And I don't see any hands.
Okay.
I think we're ready.
Thank you, Ade and Chase, for answering the questions. I move to forward the vouchers to the September 1st, 2020 consent agenda for approval.
Second, is there any other discussion or questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The matter passed 2-0. Thank you, Ade. You have one more item here, and that is monthly financial report, July 2020.
Yes. For the July monthly report, our sales tax, which is about 2.4 below 2020 year-to-date budget. I just want to make clear right from the back that remember we amended the budget in July, and especially the sales tax was adjusted down. So what this is saying is we're 2.4 below that adjusted, revised down sales tax revenue. So, and or 2% above 2019 year-to-date budget. CD permits and fee, that is also zero point 0.7 or 38.1 below 2020 year-to-date budget and 1.4 or 55.6 below 2019 year-to-date. Utility tax, which is great, about 1.56 or 26%, 26.8% above 2019. It is such a high number above 2019, of course, because of the new water and sewer utility tax, where we collected 2018, 2019, and part of 2020 in July. So that is part of why that number is so high. Our property tax revenue is above the 2019 by about 1.1%, but a little bit below 2020 year to date. But again, as Brian mentioned regarding some of the abatement, property tax, even if it's fall below, they may not be able to pay it now, but it is due to the city. So the city will get that money one way or the other, either sooner or later. So that is the beauty of the property tax, unlike sales tax revenue. The court revenue is below 2019 year to date, and I think we've been reporting that pretty much every month. Again, just to get the council's attention to that. And this is primarily due to the decrease in traffic and non-parking infraction enforcement. So since COVID-19 started, that revenue has been going down. Probation revenue, the same thing for that, for where revenue is below 2019 year to date by about 38,000, and that is pretty much because of the new state law that prevent the city from aggressive collection of the probation fees from the indigents. And majority of the people that we see in our courtrooms are considered indigents, and that is why that revenue is going down. Admission tax, I think that is another revenue that we suffer a great deal of loss. It is about 235,000 below, the actual for last year, and that is mainly due to COVID-19. All of the movie theaters, performing arts center, they all closed down because of the social distancing guideline. Our business license fee has been good, and also actually, I hate to say that, because of COVID-19, people that are trying to apply for the grant are also trying to verify whether they have license, and some of them that do not have licenses are getting licensed in a hurry. So that is one of the conditions that we put in there. If you're doing business in the city of Federal Way and you want to have a chance to get whatever amount, you need to have business license. So that combined with the city going with the state, that has greatly increased our revenue stream in the business license.
Ade,
Yes, sir.
can I ask you a question regarding the business license?
Yes,
So for those businesses that operate within the city, but they did not apply for a license, um, uh, what can we do to enforce that?
Now and then we send them letters, and the beauty of us going with the state is when people show up on our system, because we log on onto the state system that, oh, this business has a state license, and according to the state record, they are located in the city of Federal Way. We send them notice. We did not have access to this unless we walk around and notice. But if you have a license with the state and you do not have a license with the city, we will know and we will send you a letter. Last year, October, when we first signed on, since October, we've been doing that. When people show up, when businesses show up on our system that they have state license, we remind them that they need city license too. And that has been part of what has increased our revenue stream.
Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
Oh, no, it's all right. On the next page, the Federal Way Community Center, I think we know that the community center is having a rough time because of the closure, so they are below in their revenue stream also. REIT, which is real estate excise tax for 2020 year-to-date revenue, is 1.7 million below 2019 year-to-date actual, and by 760 or 31% below 2020 year-to-date. I think, REIT is the source of our debt service because REIT can only be used for infrastructure financing or capital projects. So even if we borrow money to fund a capital project, we can use REIT to pay that debt service because the debt is incurred due to infrastructure or capital financing. So with this decrease, and I'm just going to give you a prelude before the budget presentation, because this is going down, that will greatly affect our ability to fund the debt that we're already committed to. And if this revenue keeps falling, I may have to pull money from general fund to pay because you've already committed to service this debt and there's no going back. We may not take on a new one, we may not buy a new thing, but those debts that we already committed to must be serviced. So just by looking at how our REIT is performing, that is a sign for, for some concern. Next year, I think because we're expecting to roll into recession, this revenue will further decrease. So nobody as of now has a crystal ball on how long the recession will last. But I think now we're getting about 3 million a year. So based on this, just as of the end of July, I'm saying we are 31% below the budget. So who knows? August, September, I don't see much activities. I hope, and that is with pandemic starting in March. So next year, if we roll into full recession, our annual revenue may actually fall to less than 2 million. So when you're making decisions in terms of capital, please keep in mind that you already committed to servicing certain debt, and those debt must be paid first.
I have a question
Yes.
on REIT. You've been warning us about this for 2 years. So
It's a broken record, huh?
no, but we saw a lot of money coming in for REIT.
Yes.
And you've been warning us that that wasn't going to last and to be careful. So my question is, real estate, the selling of houses seems to be maintaining or even increasing from real estate professionals here in the South King County area. But that doesn't So that's housing, but that doesn't necessarily mean to commercial buildings? Are you not seeing commercial buildings and selling at the same rate as housing or at the increased prices?
Actually, I also serve on the board of a local bank here. What is actually happening? There's a lot of refinancing.
Mm.
In terms of sale of new properties, that has declined. But the people in mortgage, I mean, they can't keep up. And it's because of the refinancing. Uh, People are refinancing with the record low interest rate. In terms of actual purchase, people that have stable job and have been in the same job for so long, yes, this is a perfect time to borrow money and to be able to buy. But because of the uncertainty, the banks and the mortgage companies are scrutinizing how long have you been with this employer? What is the condition of this employer? The questions that they were not asking before
Oh,
because they are worried, can we finance this mortgage? And 3 months later, you are out of a work, out of a job, and we're holding the house that we cannot sell. So there's a lot of activities in refinancing, but in terms of sales, majority of what in the last few years are due to sales of commercial properties. We make, yes, we make some money on residential housing, but majority of our money are from commercial. If you
yes.
remember, warehouse that was the first major sale that we had for 77 million, and that is a sizable change. Then we've had some apartment complexes that change hand, some big office that change hand, but $300,000 home, $400,000 home, yes, we want them, but they are not really the one making the most money for the city. And we can only sell warehouse only so many times.
Correct. So is it not predicted that we'll have the multifamily complexes continuing to sell? It
Uh,
seems like
uh,
they sell pretty often. They change hands
Actually,
often.
based on what the bank is predicting, they are seeing a slowdown.
Okay.
And that is if we all of them are predicting the recession and they think it will get worse the moment we hit the recession. To some degree, just as if you remember, I mentioned about our sales tax that we will see actually better position in the city because of the stores that were open. People were doing the remodeling. They were getting free money. The sales tax is decreasing now because the $600 per week bonus is out, and people are really beginning to say, oh, they are saying recession. Maybe instead of spending this $600, I better be saving it up. Again, looking at it from the bank side, people are actually saving. So they've seen savings, the deposit in the bank actually grow. People are actually now borrowing, they are refinancing. The auto sale has also gone down because people are worried. I don't want to commit to another $30,000 car, not knowing if I'll have a job next year or not. So they've seen actual new borrowing gone down. So to simply answer your question, I think based on what we're seeing, it is slowing down.
Okay.
Ade,
Thank you.
can I thank you? Ade, can I ask you something about the Federal Way Community Center?
Yes,
So you know that some of the people they bought a year-long membership,
yes,
and because of this COVID issue, they will not be able to use it for since March.
right.
So do we have any plan to not refund the money, but at least extend the membership a little bit longer?
I think what community center, what they've done, I know they did that to the employees, and I'm one of them. Because it was closed, they suspended collection of monthly fees. And again, that is part of why for some months you've seen little or zero revenue in community center because they suspended collecting monthly revenue. I think I don't know if there's some people that paid annually. Most people will pay that amount monthly, and because they've suspended it, then it's a moot point because they didn't collect it for the month that the building was closed. But if we were to find some people that either by accident that we've collected their money when the building is closed, I think community center will be glad to make a correction to that. So if we're not providing the service, we're not collecting the money.
Thank you.
Uh, Moving to the next page on the general and street fund, again, it's just to let you know, uh, we've amended the budget to reflect what it is. So if you see the total revenue, now we're saying our total revenue is 5.8. So that is even after the budget adjustment. And our spending at the bottom also show 10% below. Again, that is also after the, the budget. So what that means is, in terms of the expenditure, we spent 24 million, even though we budgeted for 26.65 million. So because we all are aware the economy is down, and because staffs are not in the office, we're not spending that much on supplies, and a lot of people are working from home. That is part of why our year-to-date spending is slow. And of course, unfortunately, our year-to-date revenue, 21.49, is less than what we budgeted, and that is even with the revised budget.
Ade, can I ask you a question regarding the
Yes,
police department? I
yes,
believe the
please.
page number is 68 on my package.
Okay.
So on the top of the page, it said the total overtime budget of 1.01 million and consists of 767,000 for city overtime. And then on the second line, it said compared to 2020 year-to-date budget, city's portion of overtime is 103,000, or 22.4% above year-to-date projection. Can you tell us why that is? I mean, given the fact that there were not much activities going on for the last few months.
Actually, thank you. Actually, that was one of the, I wish Chief is here. That was one of the questions that I called them on. So, what is going on? Well, okay, what they are saying is, even though there's not that much activities in the city of Federal Way, but we are participating in the sound coordinated response to some of the activities that are happening in Seattle or Bellevue. So in the month of June, when we had the issue in Seattle, our officers were there. So even though there are no activities as bad as it was in Seattle, but our employees were participating in those areas based on the mutual agreement that we have among the sound cities. So
Okay.
that is what was responsible for that. And also, each time if somebody is sick or whatever it is, they have to have somebody else to step in. Yes, we did not have major incidents for investigation like we did a couple of years ago when we had two or three homicide. So, but we were participating in those other sound cities, group policing.
Okay. Thank you for that information.
I have a question on that too.
Okay.
So let's say that another city needs assistance with our police department and we don't have enough officers to cover the shifts that we need covered, and we don't have anyone that's able to do the overtime. In the event that then we would not be able to send anyone, I assume. But in the event that we would need help one day, how does that work? We just put out a call and whoever has officers available, they would send them to Federal Way for our assistance?
Now understand that is the way it works, and that is why we're able to respond to what happened in Seattle. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So since Councilmember Tran sped me up, but I just, before I wrap it up, I want to point to traffic safety. That is the red light, because we will be talking more about that. The reason why I'm picking out some of these, because they have much greater impact, and we will be talking more about them during the budget. Because of the lockdown, we've lost more than 80% of net revenue in red light. And we fund about 9 officers, 4 traffic employees out of the traffic light fund. And what I just said is we've lost more than 80% year to date. That's signal trouble. So if the lockdown continues, we will have to either find money from general fund to fund those officers, or so you have some challenges ahead of you. So traffic light, because of the officers that we pay out of there, and also in the past year, we've used the fund to fund patrol officers' vehicles because they're traffic related. We've used it to fund traffic signs because it is traffic related. With the lockdown and decrease in the driving, that has greatly reduced the revenue. I hope that rings through to the council. Those are the challenges ahead. And based on your policy, yes, you can change your policy, and actually the 2020 budget, and I think I pointed that out to you. I hope you remember. The fund balance, we did not meet the required fund balance. So if I were to bring the next budget to you, I need to address your policy, because the fund balance, if I were to spend beneath that fund balance, based on your policy, I have 3 years to make it up. So hopefully you will ask me, okay, great, Ade, if you're spending it down, what is your plan in the next 3 years? What is it that you know that we haven't figured out yet? That in 3 years, you'll be able to pay this money back. So if the lockdown continues and this revenue continues, remember the issue with REIT, remember the issue with red light, with a traffic light. Yes, people will say, well, you got money in utility tax, and that is true. But based on all this shortfall, you can see things are getting lighter. So I just want to make sure that, that is not lost on the council. So, So the water and sewer, that is with utility tax, that is doing well. The jail, going to page 68 right there. I think the jail service is doing well. I think, and that is why when we did budget amendment, actually we were able to reduce the jail budget by about 280,000. So the jail is doing well. Not only have we saved by leaving the score, we're also saving because we're having low ADP. To drive my point home at the next page on page 69, that is where you can see that traffic light. If you look at the net revenue, that is the third column from the right. So that can see how that has decreased. And if you were to compare that to last year, as of this time last year, we were 929, almost 930. So
Ade, is
we are.
that, oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Is that typical of other cities, or are we abnormal with this?
I know we're not abnormal. I think for the cities that have this red light revenue because of traffic reduction, they've seen reduction too. Are we all suffer at the same rate? Not necessarily so. I think part of the issue with Federal Way, you have a lot of people traveling in and out of Federal Way than some other cities where majority of people stay there. So I think, but other cities are seeing the same thing. The rate, the percentage is different.
And a day, also just to be clear, it's not just red lights, it's school zone traffic enforcement. So when the schools are out of session, we don't turn the cameras on. So we've had 4 cameras off since this began.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well, that tells an interesting story, doesn't it?
Yep.
That if,
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think the upcoming budget meeting is going to be a really tough one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So
That's a nice way to say it.
so I think that is what I have. For a takeaway, please, let's pay attention to the REIT. Let's pay attention to our sales tax. Let's pay attention to our traffic light. And of course, the 3 facilities that we currently have, Dumas Bay, Performing Arts Center, and Community Center. As I mentioned in my monthly update to the council, those 3 facilities, we're still maintaining them, even though they are closed. We have utilities here going through them. We have employees there in order not to have the building vandalized. So since revenue is not coming in, that means I'm taking money from someplace else to fund them. And if this pandemic continues, that means the funding from general fund to support them will continue. I don't have any doubt when the lockdown, when we fully go back to the way it was, especially Dumas Bay and Community Center, probably will recover. But I don't think it will recover so quickly. So, and while those buildings are running at a loss, that is another pressure on revenue from general fund.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ade. Even if we are going into phase 3 or phase 4, it doesn't mean that people will go back to the way it was. There are
Mhm.
people still, don't want to go to the community center. There are people that still don't want to go to the restaurant, even if
Yep.
we are at phase 4.
Yep.
So we need to be prepared for this.
Yes. Yes.
I have some questions, if it's okay.
Yes, go ahead,
Yes.
please.
Um, Ade, can we get a list of what businesses were given grants from phase 1? I know that I asked for that before and I haven't seen that yet. And how many businesses applied for phase 2 for grants that closed on Friday, I believe?
Actually, I think you will be, I hope you'll be pleased to know what we will do. For full disclosure, I'm planning to have a special run for the grants
Okay.
so that I can have, so I'm not mingling somebody's office supply, whatever it is. So it will be by itself.
Okay.
As of now, for the phase 1, we're still going back and forth. We say, oh, no, I need W-9 on this one. Oh, the contract on this, the name doesn't match this. Because for me, the last thing I need is for us not to be able to get the money reimbursed from the
Yes.
state. So we are paying attention. The contract name says Michael David, and are we writing the check to David Michael? You know, and is the name matching the business registration name? We're paying businesses, not individual. So those are part of the house cleaning that we're going back and forth here to say, no, this contract needs to be signed. When we look into our business license information, this business is registered as this. Yes, some of our people, they are mistaken. Oh, I'm the one that owns the business, so maybe they're sending the check to me and putting their names in there. No, we're saying no. Your business says Ade Ariwola and Co. So we will make check to Ade Ariwola and Co. Not to Ade Ariwola. There's a major difference.
Okay.
So I think we're going through that. I am hoping that maybe before the end of this week, we will run the check for the first phase. And when we do that, I'll have the list available to the council so that you can see whom we pay and how much we pay.
Okay. I'm sorry. I had assumed from what the mayor had said before that he had been signing all of the contracts, that those checks had been sent out and the list was available. So I'm sorry. I didn't realize it wasn't.
Yeah, yes, he has been signing many contracts, but because of the way, and I'm sorry, I apologize to the council and to the mayor on this, because of the way we're going through the contract, tooth and comb, because again, the last I know, the citizens will come to you, and the last thing I need is any fiasco on this. So we're making sure that is the contract proper? Do we have W-9 on this vendor? W-9 is having the tax return number to be able to say, this is my tax ID. So if you don't have tax ID, you probably don't have a business. Your business registration number, do we have that in our system? How are you registered? Those are the things that we're going through after they send the contract to us. And we're having to
Okay.
send some of the contract back and say, no, this name don't match. And they're having to go back to the individual business to resign the contract.
Okay. Well, thank you. And I appreciate the care that you're taking with that, because it is important that we're reimbursed for those grants. Do you know if there have been any businesses that have closed in Federal Way during this time since the COVID shutdown?
I think there are a couple because in talking to Tim Johnson, I don't remember their names on top of my head, but yes, there are a couple that have closed since this. And
Okay.
I have the feeling if this thing keep on going, there probably will be a few more. I hope that there won't be big businesses that will close. I think it's always bad for any business to close, but again, the bread and butter for the city, I'm sorry to say, the bread and butter to the city are the big box store, the Home Depot, the Lowe's, the Walmart. That is where we generate the most money. And when they sneeze, we will catch cold.
Okay, one day we need to write a book with all of your sayings. Because I can't remember them all, but they're cute. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right. Are we ready for the motion?
Okay, let's see. I move to forward the July 2020 monthly financial report to the September 1st, 2020 consent agenda for approval.
I second that. Is there any other discussions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The matter passed 2-0. Oh, there you have one more items here. Item G,
Yes.
Advanced Travel Ordinance. Go ahead,
Yes.
please.
What this is, it's an house cleaning work. To give you a little bit of background, and about 15, 20 years ago, before the public use of credit card, the law allows entities to have advanced travel so that when people are going out of town, they say, I don't want to spend my own money. We give them money to spend. But since the major use of credit card, the use of that advanced travel check has greatly decreased because all we do, okay, fine, there's a city card, or you can use your own card and when you come back, we reimburse. So the use of advanced travel has really gone down. I could have left this account open, but from auditing and accounting point of view, because there's no much activity, then if it's not being used, it needs to be closed. That is how fraud do happen when you have an account that is floating out there that people are not paying attention to. So if we're not using it, so that is what I'm doing with this. I want to close this account and let the council, because according to the good financial guidelines, the council must approve where we are putting our money so that you need to know, it needs to be a public record of where we're keeping our money. And if we're not keeping our money anymore there, it needs to be a public record. So we're making a request to close this account and put the money back into the regular main account. And that I won't have to worry about the fund anymore.
Thank you, Ade.
So this hasn't been used since 2015?
Yes, because we
Wow.
have so many credit cards.
Wow.
And, when I travel, actually, I don't use city credit card since I have my own credit card. I use my credit card when I come back and get reimbursement. So, and people that claim they don't want to use their credit card, we give them the city card. So there's no need for giving people cash. And actually, most hotels these days will not take cash because they want to know who is staying with them. In those days, they would take cash. These days, they don't. Yes. We haven't used it for a while.
Well, okay. Now that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I think this is making sense because my agency is the same thing. They no longer do the travel advance anymore. So whenever I need to travel, I just call in and then they will make all kind of arrangement for me. And if I need to, pay something, then I'll just use my own credit card. And then when I come back, I just, submit the travel reimbursement.
Yep.
So yeah.
Okay.
All right. We have a motion, right?
Yes,
Yes.
please.
I move to forward the proposed ordinance to the September 1st, 2020 council meeting for first reading.
I will second that. Is there any other discussion or questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The matter passed 2-0. And we are going to others, utility tax update.
That is just to tell the committee that, again, to remind you that the utility tax that we're getting from Lake Haven, we'll be working with them and it may end up being a settlement. The ordinance says it will take effect, March. What they paid us, was from tail end of June, 2018. But otherwise, we're getting our money, and that is currently helping us. And I foresee, regardless of what we do with that between March and June of 2018, at least the monthly from now on will be coming through. And also to remind you that by getting this utility tax, for those that look at our revenue in detail, we're losing uh, 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 the renter, the other leasehold that they were currently paying. Because they're supposed to be paying us some money before, and Ryan can speak to that.
It's the
based on the
franchise
agreement.
fee. The franchise fee.
The franchise fee, excuse me. Based on the agreement that we have with them, when they start paying the utility tax, we will have to stop collecting franchise fee. So if you are looking at our detailed revenue, we will no longer be collecting franchise fee from them.
Okay.
So that is it.
Ade, can you remind me when the budget is given to the council again?
It's supposed to be delivered to the council on September 15th.
Okay. Thank you.
And I think we discussed the calendar a few months ago.
Yeah. I don't have it in front of me, but I know that we have a calendar already set.
Oh, yes. I think I can forward that back to the council. I think the first discussion will start on September 23rd.
Okay.
So
will the public be able to see the budget on the 15th also, or just the council?
Well, the moment we present the budget to the council, it becomes a public record, and we will have to make it available. It will be posted online, and we will also have a couple of copies to make sure it is available to all.
Okay. Alrighty.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
I think that is all we have for the meeting today. Our next meeting, I believe, is going to be September 22nd. Is that correct, Ade?
Yes.
22nd?
Yes.
Okay, and I would assume it is going to be on Zoom again.
Yes. I think this Zoom business will be around for a while.
If I would have known,
I can always hope for others.
I could have traveled to that different country and then conduct business from there.
Absolutely.
No, you can't get into another country.
You have to get a flight first. So.
No, actually, Bora Bora is still open.
Oh.
They are allowing U.S. plane to land?
Yes, with the negative COVID test, you can go there now.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Wishful thinking, right?
Well, if we don't see, well, I guess you could still have the background behind you, so we wouldn't even know.
Exactly.
But the connection from Bora Bora may not be this good, though. So, so if we start having bad connection, we know you're out of the country.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, again, thank you everybody for being here. Thank you, Autumn, for filling in for Dana. Really
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you,
that.
Autumn.
Very welcome.
And I think that's conclude our meeting today. Have a good evening, and I will see you on the 1st.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Bye, Lydia.
Bye, everyone. I'm still here, so I
Bye.
survived.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.